Yun! Kamusta naman dyan, mga ka-meta? Kanina, sinabi ko na anong maging meta natin today. Mag-focus tayo guys dito sa talagang malalang malala na ang problema dito. Talagang grabe, next level na itong educational crisis dito sa Pilipinas. Of course, soon, babalik na tayo, hopefully God willing, dun sa face-to-face classes. So, I'm sure medyo sigh of relief yung mga ibang parents dyan na pagod na nagda-double time taking care of the kids, making sure with online teaching. And let me reassure you guys, sa amin mga guro, no? Napakahirap po magturo din online because we barely see the students. You know, there's privacy law. If they don't want to show themselves, wala kami mga gawa. So minsan parang kausap lang namin yung pader, di ba? And then we have to prepare PowerPoints, etc. So let me tell you guys, the past 2 years or so has been a kind of a nightmare situation for a lot of teachers and educators. But at the same time, wala tayong choice. We have to adjust. So, at the same time, of course, yung online teaching nagbigay ng iba't ibang oportunidad, no, to have more flexible arrangements, avoid traffic, not needing to go to the classroom, etc. But let's be honest, guys, napakahirap magturo online, and also it has been very, very difficult for the students and for their parents. So our best wishes as we transition back into face-to-face classrooms. Sana naman everyone keeps safe, and hopefully the transition will be as smooth as possible. Nonetheless, guys, hindi natin madidinay talaga na napakamalala, no? Talagang grabe na yung next level na education crisis dito sa ating bansa. And I must tell you, without divulging too much information, that I was also been, quite troubled by some of the things I've seen over the years in terms of the deterioration of the level of education. Syempre sa college level, sa graduate school level, dapat talagang no tolerance for any kind of plagiarism whatsoever, and students, have to really watch out, no, make sure walang plagiarism whatsoever, because dapat talaga very strict ang school sa mga yan. So, yun ang I'm just giving my perspective from a tertiary education background, but I'm sure napakahirap din yung sitwasyon yun sa basic education background. At of course, tayo po ay nagtuturo din sa graduate school. So, hindi lang sa undergraduate, but also graduate school. I have my views on teaching and the difficulties of teaching, and also some of my concerns. I'm very impressed with the lot of students I've had. At the same time, we're hearing a lot of reports. A lot of students have been expelled, suspended, among others, for plagiarism, for all sorts of questionable, ethical violations, etc. So yun, guys, no? So upholding those basic standards is very, very important. Now, balikan natin ng Pilipinas kasi mahalaga itong issue ng edukasyon dahil malaking bagay ito pagdating sa kinabukasan ng ating bansa, ating ekonomiya, at ating demokrasya. Mahirap po na magkaroon ng isang malakas, matatag, at functional, no, na demokrasya kung hindi maayos po yung kalagayan ng edukasyon sa ating bayan, at kung nasa crisis parati yung ating mga educational institutions, no, at kung hirap na po yung ating mga guro, kung may pagkakulang ng gobyerno dun sa investments dun sa public education systems. Pero to be honest, guys, mukhang yung educational crisis natin cuts across the board. I mean, we're looking at multiple levels. We're looking at private school, public school. So may kailangan talaga tayong gagawin dito. And just to put things into perspective, I mean, just look at the numbers, guys. The Philippines is effectively, number 1 na naman tayo. Mga kameta, in the time of tatay, number 1 na naman tayo, in the worst way na naman possible. Kung hindi number 1, malapit na doon. So So lumabas yung itong report. Nako po, pag makikita niyo yung report na yan, talagang we are incomparably in a bad state pagdating sa educational system natin, yung learning deprivation, etc. So, you may have seen already this really troubling, depressing, nakakagalit, nakakagigil na data. So, ito guys, nakikita niyo dito. So, ito yung World Bank. Pakita ko sa inyo. By the way guys, nagsiset up na ako. Hopefully, we'll do more because I'm using just my laptop I'm trying to check what are my options to set up na lang from my laptops and all para mas maganda yung graphics and all. But you see, this is the learning poverty. This is Singapore, so this is the gold standard. The Philippines is very much at the bottom of this list, no? And the numbers are just mind-boggling. I mean, my goodness. So ito yung school-going children's percentage of, no? So ito yung report ng World Bank measuring learning poverty. Ito yung kakayahan or pagkakulang sa kakayahan ng mga bata pagdating sa reading, understanding, age-appropriate short texts by the age of 10, no? So ito po ay isang report covering all sorts of countries all around the world, no? At dun sa mga Asian countries, very much bottom ng Pilipinas. And if you look at the numbers, I think this puts us easily among the worst on earth, right? Ayan, number 1 na naman tayo, guys. So look at how crazy the numbers are. So when it comes to learning poverty, ito yung pagkakulang dun sa kakayahan to read and understand short age-appropriate text. Yung learning poverty percentage sa Singapore ay, sorry, grabe yung puyat natin, mga traffic and driving and all of that, napagod tayo. Kulang tayo sa vitamins. Sa Singapore po, ang learning poverty is 2.8%. Learning deprivation is 2.7%. Schooling deprivation, yung mga hindi nakakapunta sa sa eskwela pagdating sa basic education up to the age of 10, 0% po. So, just over 2% in Singapore have been suffering from learning poverty, learning deprivation. Now, you could say, well, Singapore, city-state, maliit na bansa yan. I mean, come on, it's incomparable. Okay, let's look at the bigger one. South Korea, learning poverty, 3.2%, slightly higher than Singapore. Learning deprivation is actually lower than Singapore, 0.8%. But schooling deprivation is not 0%, but 2.5%. Let's go even bigger. Let's go Japan. Japan, the numbers is 3.6%, 1.8%, and 1.8%. And then pwede nyo sabihin, well, come on guys, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, mga mayaman na bansa yan. Hindi tayo comparable dyan. Okay. Doon tayo sa mga kapitbahay natin na developing country. Vietnam, learning poverty is 18.1%. Ibig sabihin, less than 1 out of 5 Vietnamese children up to the age of 10 now, problema sila in reading and comprehension of age-appropriate text, yung mga basic education text. 18.1% din sa learning deprivation, pero 0 ang Vietnam pagdating sa schooling deprivation. And to think Vietnam, guys, was poorer than the Philippines until recently in per capita income. Meaning, yung GDP nila, total economic output divided by population. And kung nakapunta kayo sa Vietnam, actually medyo rustic pa rin ng Vietnam. It's not still the level of Jakarta, Manila, or even Bangkok, no? So, Vietnam, a poorer country for a long time than the Philippines, many Southeast Asian countries, has 0% schooling deprivation and less than 1/5 of people, of children up to the age of 10 suffering from learning poverty and learning deprivation. The numbers in China are very, very similar, almost exactly identical, 18.2, 18.2, and 0. Then you go to Thailand, which is more similar even to the Philippines. Hindi naman sila communist country for quite some time. They were populist, democratic. The numbers there are 23.4%, 21.4%, and schooling deprivation is only 1.9%. Then we go to neighboring Malaysia. The numbers are surprisingly higher, considering Malaysia is actually per capita richer. The numbers are 42%, 41.7%, but only 0.5% in Malaysia are deprived in schooling. Now let's go to countries that are even more similar to the Philippines, relatively poor countries and relatively populous countries, and relatively dysfunctional democracies. Indonesia's numbers suddenly jump up. Learning poverty is 52.8%, learning deprivation is 49.4%, schooling deprivation is 6.8%. India, giant democracy, dysfunctional democracy, Tatay-style politics, also 52.8% learning poverty, almost, it's identical to Indonesia. So Indonesia and India are at half of their children almost, up to the age of 10, ay may problema pagdating sa reading comprehension, no? Now, eto na talagang the best talaga. Ganyan talaga pag napakagaling ang mga presidente natin, napakagaling ang ating mga nasa gobyerno, yung mga talagang Dolomite style governance. Ito, mga ka-Dolomite. Mga tuwang-tuwa sa Dolomites governance. Yung mga tuwang-tuwa sa mga nagsasabi 3 to 6 months, Singapore style. Yung mga ka-Unity. Kamusta na kayo dyan? Ito ng numbers of Philippines. So just give you a breakdown. Singapore learning poverty is 2.8%. Vietnam is 18.1%. Thailand is 23.4%. Malaysia is 42%. Indonesia, yan, nakakalungkot na yan, 52%. Ganon din sa India. Pilipinas, guys, eto na. Number 1, 90.9%. 90.9% ng ating kabataan up to the age of 10 ay may pagkakulang doon sa reading comprehension, reading and understanding short age appropriate texts. 90.9%, as in more than 9 out of 10. Learning deprivation, 90.4%. Although in fairness sa schooling deprivation, di tayo number 1 from the bottom, right? We're better than India and Indonesia. They're 6.8%, we're 5%. Pero guys, off the charts to. Next level na to. Best president in the solar system level na ito, guys. 90.9% ang learning poverty sa Pilipinas. So barely 1 out of 10, up to the age of 10, can optimally read and understand short age appropriate text. 90.4% yung learning deprivation. So may pagkakulang doon sa edukasyon, doon sa training, sa pasilidad. So, and to consider na hindi naman lahat ng mga eskwela natin ay privado or public, that means this problem is cutting across all educational institutions at the basic level at least. Both private, both public, both provincial, both in the big cities. Tapos sasabihin best in the solar system tayo. Ayan. Now, sasabihin nyo, bias yan. Bias ang World Bank, mga ka-unity. Bias daw ang World Bank. O di, sige. Huwag kayo maniwala sa World Bank. Sige na nga. O, dito tayo sa ibang test naman, guys. Ito. Maging number 1 tayo dito. Ito talaga, wala na talagang ano. Ito, Philippines lowest among the 58 countries that were included doon sa listahan ng mga kabataan in terms of their math, science, competency. So, ito yung ibang klase. Ito yung the Trends in International Mathematics Science Study 2019. Pinapakita na ang Pilipinas scored significantly lower than any other country na nag-participate dyan in grade 4 math and science assessments. So, ito yung kasama doon sa Trends in International Studies, Mathematics and Science Studies 2019, so TIMSS, no? The Philippines scored only 297 in mathematics and 249 in science, which are significantly lower than any other country. So, you can imagine other countries are several times. So, to give you an idea, Philippines nag 297 and 249 sa math and science. Singapore, 625 and 595. Alright? For grade 8 nila, ang scores nila is 616 and 608. It's almost 3 times higher yung scoring nila. Ibang level, ibang klase. Ibang klase to, guys. Sa mathematics, only 19% of Philippine students were on the low benchmark, which means that they had some, quote, basic mathematical knowledge, while 81% did not even reach this level. Ayon dun sa study, yung Filipino students at that level, basic education, they can add, subtract, multiply, and divide 1 and 2-digit whole numbers. They can solve simple word problems. They have some knowledge of simple fractions and common geometric shapes. And the students can read and complete simple bar graphs and tables. But, laki ng problema, anything beyond that. Dito, pagdating sa siyensya, 13% of Philippine students were also in the low benchmark, no? With, quote, limited understanding of scientific concepts and limited knowledge of foundational science facts. 87% did not even reach this level. So, yung minimum threshold ay hindi naabutan ng 87% pagdating sa siyensya. Ay nako, I mean, if this is not a crisis, I don't know what is a crisis, no? Now, prior to this assessment, the Philippines actually ranked in the low 70s dun sa 2018 Program for International Student Assessment. Ito yung PISA, where the Philippines placed 79th in reading out of what? 80 countries? With an average of 340 against the... Yung average ng Philippines is 340. Yung world average, yung in-average na naman lahat ng mga ibang bansa ay 487. So way below the average of everyone else. Sa mathematics dito sa PISA naman, so this is different guys. Dun sa minention ko kanina na, so dalawang assessment yun guys. One is TIMSS, TIMSS, Trends in International Mathematics and Science, Study 2019, yan, kulelat, literally kulelat. The other one is itong PISA ranking, ito, kulelat din, no? Practically bottom of the list, no? I think we're able to beat one country, I don't know, some Latin American country or something like that, but my goodness, guys, this is crazy. I mean, this is next level crazy. So yung mga nagsabi na, dito tayo sa problema na tayo, nabubudol tayo, etc. dahil sa disinformation, dahil sa Facebook, dahil sa blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, if ganito ang level ng edukasyon ng ating bansa, no? Kung ganito po kagrabe yung crisis sa ating educational system, then clearly the root cause of the problem, meaning susceptibility of people, disinformation, budul-budol, bardagulan style, whatever, is because of institutional failure, particularly dito sa education, basic education. And when your basic education is palpak, you push up students all the way to college who have no idea what's plagiarism, right? And they think they can get away with plagiarism, right? You have students who, submit papers that you have no idea if this can pass any basic threshold of acceptability, right? And nakaabot pa ng college yung iba dyan. I don't know how on earth this happened. But ibang class ito, guys. Because the basic education is a reflection of a bigger problem. And at the same time, it tells you what the crisis is awaiting us in the decades to come. Ito mga kabataan na yan, magka-college na yan in the next 5 to 10 years. Good luck na lang, di ba? Kung ganito, kung hindi natin ayusin ito, kailangan talaga, guys, ng parent intervention dito. Adult intervention dito, no? Malaking problema yan, malaking problema. And yung mga parents ay dapat nakatutok dito at tulungan nila yung mga estudyante. Yung mga teachers dapat kumuha ng sapat na suporta. Yung Department of Education, yung Secretary ng Department of Education dapat ay someone who knows what he or she is doing. And someone na dapat honest dito sa problema na meron tayo. No. The worst thing that can happen is this: denial of the problem, not releasing the numbers, and having parents who want to enable incompetence or trying to make excuses for their children na hindi nila kasalanan yan, pwede pa yan, etc. Right? The parents have to do their job. And one of the things they have to do is to help their children to do better in school all the way to college. Right? Instead of denying the problem or trying to make excuses. No? And doon naman, pagdating sa gobyerno, my goodness, we have to be honest. We have an educational crisis at the highest level. Now, you think I'm saying this now? No. 6, 7, 8 years ago, I was already saying this, that educational crisis is a big problem in the Philippines. I even said it's our Achilles heel. So, hindi ito out of nowhere. 2013 pa lang, guys, meron ako nasulat dito sa issue ng education crisis. It was a blog post I had for a Huffington Post. No, I mean, 2013 pa lang, guys, I've been mentioning this problem. It just got worse over the past 10 years. I mean, this is insane, guys. Next level. Titingnan mo, guys, yung ating sorry. Titingnan nyo, guys, yung ating universities. Kahit UP. Kung saan tayo galing, napaka-proud tayo dyan. But now, tingnan mo naman yung rankings ng UP. Sa Asia pa lang, hirap na. So, sorry about that. We are seeing a generational educational crisis here. And this, guys, is crazy. Next level. Now, you think this is just basic education? My goodness. Tignan mo naman yung mga ginagawa ng... Now, there's this report, for instance, about this guy who was reappointed dun sa CHED at a very high level. Etong tao na tong yabang-yabang, minsan nagka-criticize sa akin, zero ang publication niya. You Google Scholar, this guy, his name doesn't even come out, all right? And then he dares to question guys like me who have double-digit H index on Google Scholar. But anyway, I don't know how these guys end up even at that high level. They have no quality publication whatsoever, right? Mga nagkokolekta lang ng mga degrees yan. At malakas sa mga ano na, alam na. So, I don't want to even go there. I mean, guys, baka iinit lang ulo ko dito eh. Puro mga ano, operator lang yung mga iba dyan eh. So, we're having a serious problem, guys. Ako, I always say, no? I always say, dun sa, even sa higher education, sa college level, I say, if you're a professor, you have to produce. You have to publish. You have to get published. You have to get out book. You have to get out journal articles. Books, dapat internationally published. Books, dapat university press as much as possible. Journal articles, dapat yung mga yung ISI, yung mga index journal articles. Philippines has very low publication rate, no? At the highest level. And nakakalungkot yan considering marunong tayo mag-Ingles. Considering we have had decades of experience of engagement with the Western top universities. At ngayon, Indonesia mga ganun, natatalo na tayo sa English language publications. I'm not even talking about local language. I mean, guys, this is crazy. This is a crazy situation. Kaya talaga dapat something has to be done about it. Now, I'll tell you what has not been done about it. And I'll tell you where we're going. So, for instance, if you look at this report, actually, Philippines had decreasing numbers. Ito by Professor Villegas, no? Pagdating sa scores ng Philippines sa mathematics and science achievement, actually our scores decreased by 61 points from 358 in 2003 to 297, and then by 83 points from 332 in 2003 to 249. So this is our score from, I think this is 2013 dapat nagkamali ata to. So this is the scoring between the years 2013 and 2019. So over the past decade, guys, actually lumalala yung situation. Hindi siya gumaganda, no? So something serious is actually going on there. So again, paki-check itong article by Professor Villegas. I'll post that there. The numbers are there. Now, there's also a very interesting article, guys. I want you guys to check it by our good friend Bu Chanko, a very, very capable columnist, business columnist, who was among the first people, all kudos to him, to raise issue dito sa World Bank study na pinakita na more than 9 out of 10 Filipinos, kids, up to the age of 10, may problema dito sa reading comprehension, no? Now, kung titignan mo, my goodness, yung rating ng Philippines, off the charts. It's incomparable even to the other problematic countries in Southeast Asia. No? Now, ayon sa kanya, there are people inside the government who have acknowledged na may malaki tayong problema dito, no? But mukhang things are not being done the way they should. So just to read from, this is the article of Puchanko, Learning Poverty, na sinulat niya Philippine Star on August 10. So it's just the other week lang. Ito ayon sa eksperto daw, this situation should not come as a surprise. Apparently daw, ayon sa kanya, DepEd knew how big the problem was but decided to sweep it under the rug. At one point daw, yung DepEd no longer wanted to cooperate with international testing because they already knew how bad it is and the test would confirm their abysmal failure. So, hindi lang denial, ayaw talaga makipag-cooperate daw sa mga testing para hindi mabuking yung kakulangan sa mga institution natin, di ba? Ayon kay Buchanko, an expert told them that we do actually have national achievements test, ito yung NAT, almost annually for grade 6 and grade 10, but ayon kay Buchanko, DepEd doesn't release the results for public analysis and discussion, treating test results like a state secret. I don't know, man. I mean, this is crazy. Kasi nga, kung na-release ito sa public, magkaroon ng malaking discussion, baka may embarrass sila, ma-expose yung kakulangan, incompetency and all. So Buchanko is quoting these experts from inside the government saying, we, the DepEd, even CHED, PRC, etc., must change our attitudes toward test results and learn from them well. We can't diagnose well if we don't have good information. We can't work with hypotheses forever. We need to find rigorously validated solution. Kailangan pag-aralan na mabuti, saan tayo nagkakulang, saan tayo dapat mag-ayos, di ba? Now, this thing is gonna snowball and get out of control in the coming years and decades if there's no intervention at this point in time. So former NEDA Secretary Ernesto Pernia pointed out that, but quote, by 2028 there will be 10 million more Pinoys, around half of them from poor families. Currently, the Philippines already has 28 million children, youth in basic education. So you're looking at a huge number. So if more than 90% of these 28 million people in our basic education system are facing one sort of education crisis or the other, good luck na lang sa atin yan. Now, I know there'll be debates about K to 12. Now, obviously, the idea behind K to 12 was to make us more aligned with international standards. Kasi sa kanila, K to 12 din, di ba? 12 years basic education before you go next. But we know that the implementation of K to 12 has been quite also questionable and problematic. Some are saying too much stuff is cramped into it. Some are saying it's too much overextended. So we need to have a proper study also on K to 12 and whether it's working. But more than whether K10, K12, K14, K9, whatever you want to put it, the fact of the matter is that if you don't get the basics right, if you don't do proper testing, proper results, proper evidence-based study, hindi yung Dolomite style, hindi yung pa-denial style, hindi yung tatay bara-bara style, we're not gonna get to the bottom of these issues. In fact, one of the persons who has been pointing out the big problem we have been facing dito sa education system is Representative Joy Salceda, a very smart guy, an economist by training, who's been saying that more than 80% of Filipino children are not getting the basic education they really deserve and they really should get if they want to be fully optimal in terms of their contribution in national economy and also optimizing kanilang kakayahan, no? So ayon sa kanya, base sa mga global assessment, 3 global assessments, only 10 to 22% of grade 4, 5, and 9 students in the Philippines posted, quote, at or above minimum proficiency. Minimum proficiency man lang, hirap na tayo. Ayon kay Salceda, we'll get through this pandemic, economic crisis come and go, but literacy and its permanent effects on growth and intergenerational poverty stay. That is why this report is alarming. Unless we make drastic changes to the situation, our actual economic growth will always be much less than our potential, and poor kids will likely have poor families and have poor kids also themselves. So it will be an intergenerational problem. Now, I didn't even go to the next thing, which is, my goodness, yung issue ng malnutrition and growth stunting doon sa ating mga kabataan, because the ability of children to also properly absorb the lessons, no matter how good yung teaching is, also depends on whether they're getting the proper nutrition. Isa pang malaking problema yan. Kaya nga doon sa mga ibang bansa, mga eskwela, nagpo-provide din sila ng pagkain, basic nutrition. Especially doon sa mga galing sa more indigent or less privileged background. So we have to have really serious intervention, these guys, no? The cost to the GDP could be 0.5 to 0.7% dahil dito sa disruptions sa schooling amidst the pandemic, and 0.3 to 0.54% sorry, for GDP for the entire productive life of this generation of students. This is what Albay Congressman Salceda has been saying in terms of long-term impact and also collective impact na itong educational crisis na meron tayo. It's going to deprive them of a good life, of the best possible life they deserve. It's also going to deprive our economy, our country, of the workforce we need. An optimal workforce that has literacy, functional literacy, to really be competitive in the 21st century. So guys, talagang malaking problema ito. Kaya, I don't know. I mean, Vice President Sara Duterte is now the DepEd. Some have raised questions on whether she has the proper background or training to be there, where she's a lawyer at least. I mean, she finished school and all of that, unlike some other people na nadami pera pa rin. Okay, wag na tayo but let's see. I mean, let's see what kind of intervention she's gonna make here, because, guys, for a moment, can we just go beyond just blaming this president, that president per se, right? As much as I'm so much against Dolomite populism and all. And let's please encourage our government to do something about this. And dun naman sa parents, wag kayo in denial. Help your children, help the students. College man lang, undergraduate man lang, instill in them basic ethics. Instill in them basic respect, no, for good education. Instill in them a passion for learning. Instill in them the discipline that they need. And the worst kind of parents are parents who are in denial or enablers of students who are not learning, who are not doing well, and sometimes are plagiarizing, are not following the rules, violating the basic ethics. And at the same time, schools have to be very strict, guys, in pushing the children to do their job, to learn. And if there are unethical acts, whether it's plagiarism, whether it's cheating, or whatever kalokohan nangyari, there has to be a very strong response to draw the line and set a good precedence, right? Kung style lang natin is hayaan mo na yan, yan ang problema. Hinayaan nung basic education, hinayaan nung high school, pagdating sa college, hinayaan tuloy kung ano-anong kalokohan ng ginagawa, sila pang galit, diba? Ay, hindi pwede yung mga ganyan style, diba? And then mamaya ang problema, syempre ako, I teach also graduate school. Mamaya ang problema, graduate school na, I'm not talking about any specific person, and then you read the paper and all, and you're not sure, like, does this meet even the minimum threshold for what a paper should look like for undergraduate, forget about graduate school, right? So yun ang problema eh. Kung palpak ka dito, di mo ayusin. You push it up, abot yan sa college and graduate school. Kawawa rin yung mga professors nandun sa taas, no? Now, I haven't had the opportunity of teaching basic education. As I said, I taught college and graduate school, masters, etc. But I really feel for our teachers. I really feel dun sa ating mga colleagues sa basic education. I really feel for them, for senior high school, for those in the basic education. I really, really feel for them. But please, guys, we really need to be honest about this problem. Not to be depressed, but to be alarmed and channel yung sense of alarm natin in the best way possible. And please lang, no time for kapalpakan, no time for incompetent people being appointed, no time, guys, for bara-bara style, no time for denial. We have to be very strong about this, and you have to really ingrain, no, dito yung sense of ethical conduct, a sense of love for discipline and discipline for education. At kung titingnan mo yung mga ibang bansa na very successful, whether ito yung Korea, whether ito yung Hong Kong, ito yung Singapore, whatever, a lot of these countries, they're also successful because A, their teachers are among the best paid and best monitored and meritocratically put there. B, they have very competent education secretaries and leaders. And C, they have parents who do their job. They're not there to deny and baby their kids, especially when their kids are not doing their job or their kids are cheating, plagiarizing, whatever. No, the parents push their kids to be the best possible they could be so that they can get to the best schools, graduate from the best schools, be their own best versions, and contribute to the country. Right? So ito ay isang hamon sa mga parents, right? Not to slack off, not to enable incompetence, lack of discipline, or even worse, unethical conduct. This is isang hamon ito sa gobyerno para ayusin natin yung Department of Education appointments, etc. We have to be very honest about, guys. We have to be very honest about dun sa pagkakulang na meron tayo sa ating educational institutions, and we have to really get it tested over and over again and have an evidence-based solution, right? Yan po ang mga kailangan natin. At pangatlo, sana tayo, mga ordinaryong mamamayan, we have to put constant pressure, guys. Let's not forget that bad education is bad for democracy. You create a population susceptible to disinformation, to manipulation, to budol-budol. You create a population that may not be able to compete in 21st century globalization, right? So lahat na yan, guys. Damay-damay na yan, guys. Damay-damay na yan. And then yung mga iba na pwede na yan, pinapasa yung estudyante, patas na patas, umabot ng college, ano to? Paano ka nag-college, ganitong level na education mo? Right? So there has to be intervention from the very beginning. Yung ugat ng problema sa education crisis, dapat ayusin yan sa basic education pa lang. Dapat ayusin yan in terms of parent-student relationship, parent-teacher relationship. That's what we see going right in other countries like Korea, like Japan, like Hong Kong, etc. And then also, of course, guys, we have to have a government that is honest about this and has evidence-based approach to solving this problem. Hindi lang denial mode. Hindi lang pwede na yan. Hindi lang wag tayo nega, unity lang tayo. Ay, hindi pwede. Paano tayo mag-unity sa kapalpakan? Di ba? Kailangan ayusin yan. We cannot be unified in kapalpakan. We have to be unified in fixing kapalpakan. That's the unity I want. Alright? Hindi tayo pwede, 3 to 6 months, maayos ko na yan, yung mga bara-bara. No, we have to fix it. And kung K-12 yung dating administration naman, pag-aralan natin na mabuti, gumagana ba ito? And how to tweak it, improve it. Is it too much? Is it too little? Where can we tweak it? Where can we make it better? Now, you can see, I'm really passionate about this because I'm an educator. My mom is an educator. I come from a family of educators. So, masakit po sa amin yan when we see at ganun kalalim yung problema sa edukasyon at hindi binibigyan ng sapat na atensyon. Alright? Or we see certain people making it to college or even more and then parang nasaan yung basic proficiencies? Nasaan yung sense of basic ethical standards, no? Right. Hindi pwede yan. And dun sa mga parents, please help your kids to be better. Don't enable their incompetence or lack of by trying to cover up for it, deny for it, and then awayin niyo pa yung mga teacher ganun. Hindi pwedeng ganun, alright? Do your job well, work with the teachers, work with the students, be constructive. Something goes wrong, make it right by discipline, by hard work, by investing really in a culture of lifelong learning. Yan po talagang kailangan natin. So, foundation pa lang ng education natin, problemado na. Kaya, again, guys, yung mga nagsabi, problema natin is disinformation. Ganun. You're just scratching the surface. Disinformation works in a country where the basic education system is not preparing people to fight and cope with disinformation, right? Disinformation works in a country where when majority of the population is not trained to be their best version so that they can make the best choices politically, personally, so on and so forth, right? So guys, yan lang. Yan lang sa akin. Sorry, medyo pumupula na tayo. Uminit na ulo natin. Kasi nga, I really feel na hindi binibigyan ng commensurate attention itong issue na to. At yung DepEd talaga dapat mahusay yung mga tao dyan. They have to be really people on top of their job. They have to be honest. They have to get this done, guys. Kawawa yung mga kabataan. Kawawa mga kabataan. Tayo mga adults, parents, teachers, let's help the children to do best. Let's discipline them. Let's make sure we inspire them. We motivate them. We intervene if something is going wrong, if they're not following ethical standards, if they're not learning. At the same time, we encourage them to learn more and move forward so that they can get into the best schools and be the best version of themselves. All right? Thank you so much, guys. Ito, magpahinga na. Nakita, medyo may lagnat na tayo ng konti. Dahil sa, hindi lagnat. Oh, may baka man. Meron tayong konting, colds ng konti. Dahil sa itong char natin. Grabing traffic dito sa Manila. Grabe, guys. Magka-level ng Baguio. Ayan. Good evening kay Judith Thomas. Thank you very much. Kay Novelita Labrador. Thank you very much kay Cyril Aguila. Thank you kay Judith Cashtuper. Love the green polka dots. Ayan. Sarah All. Ay, Sana All. Ayan. Yan ang Sarah All color ko. Ayan. Thank you very much kay Jean Rev for joining us. Kay Wena Marzan for joining us. Kay Fanny San Miguel. Thank you very much, Mom, again, as always, for your support. Thank you kay Rizal Amper. Good evening din sa'yo. Thank you, as always, to Riz Annie and Katrina Paladin Frias. Ayan, si Mitch, ang hirap ng nasasanay na pwede ng standards. Ay, yung mga pwede na ganyan. Nako po. Yes, I agree, Mitch. Thank you kay Alan Yu, kay Maria Esmeralda. Sabi niya, napakasad naman daw yung situation. Of course, dapat we instill, critical thinking. That's what I had to say a while ago. Even more EDS. I mean, how can you have critical thinking if basic comprehension, math and science, walang na problema tayo? You get what I'm saying, guys? We have to really fix that. EDS, Miss Criolla, thank you so much for your support. Kay Ena Makadangdang, thank you so much. Kay Cherry Katakista, kay Nico Hapitan, kay Eliza Abigan, kay Mitch Isidro, kay Mian Luis, kay Beng Edisa, kay Odoy Rako, kay Natasha Francis Tami. Thank you so much. Sabi niya, in the interest of corrupt officials to keep their... Sabi niya, yung mga corrupt officials want to keep people below their maximum potential. That's true, or maybe not. I don't know. But I mean, we want leaders who make the people more and more educated and responsible so that they get the best guys inside, not the worst guys, kakistocracy. Thank you kay Ma'am Jocelyn Lumberry, as always. Good evening. Thank you so much. Thank you kay Bibo Nagi, joining us from Saudi Arabia. Wassalamu alaikum. Shukra habibi. Thank you kay Lou Viana, kay Claire Ben, kay Patrick Pasete. Is that correct? Sorry. Dian Liasos, Hansky Elomir, Neo Rona, and Ma'am Fanny San Miguel. Thank you so much for your support dun sa mga nagbigay ng stars, etc. Pasensya na, guys. I hope hindi ako yung mukhang nagreklamo lang dyan or whining. I mean, you look at it, guys. Everything I talk about is based on evidence. It's based on studies. Hindi tayo nagbabara-bara dito. We're looking at all major assessments. PISA, assessment, the World Bank study. I mean, all of them are pointing at a very similar problem, no? A fundamental problem. We're looking at the TIMSS, Trends in International Mathematics and Science Studies, at the PISA study, at the World Bank study. All of these are showing the Philippines is very much in an educational crisis. And some longitudinal studies even suggest we're on a downward trajectory. Na lumalala pa itong sinasabi ng iba, ang problema natin, we're not as proficient in English na like before, including mga graduates ng UP, mga top schools. So, I don't know, things are getting even worse right now based on the studies and some of the longitudinal comparative studies we're seeing. So, my goodness, guys, my goodness. So, please, Kung kayo ay parent, kayo ay guro, kayo ay isang mamamayan na active citizen, whatever, in whichever capacity, please try to push for kawawa yung mga bata. Kasi hindi nila kasalanan yun, guys. They don't deserve this. Our children don't deserve this. Our children deserve to get the best education, best nutrition, so that they can be the best Filipino, best person, best whatever they choose to be in for the rest of their life. Ang trabaho po talaga ng isang estado is, I'm Aristotelian on it, is to help each citizen to achieve their optimal potential or actualize their greatest potential. Right? So, yun pong trabaho natin. So, if yung mga ating kabataan, 9 out of 10 ay may learning poverty base sa World Bank study, then we're in a really, really big trouble. The numbers are way worse even than Indonesia and India. And completely incomparable to most of our peers in ASEAN and Asia. I mean, it's insane. Ayan. Singkong duling. Ano naman tayo mga singkong duling. Kahit singkong duling improvement sana, di ba? Yan po ang kailangan natin. So, thank you very much, guys. Muchas gracias. Medyo magpahinga tayo ng konti, etc. so that I can recover. Medyo napagod talaga ako for the past few years. Napupula na ako sa, hindi ko alam kung dahil sa inis yan or pagod yan or whatever. But let's continue this conversation, hopefully based on some better news, no? Let's see what will DepEd do with what will Sara Duterte do. Kaya nakasara all tayo dito. Let's see how things are gonna move forward. But please, the first thing we need to do is not to enable incompetence, not to be in denial mode, but to fix the problem. As parents, don't enable. Don't enable in the wrong way, meaning. But empower the students. All right? Empower the students. Empower your children. Okay? Thank you very much. God bless. Maraming salamat. Adios. God bless.